All right. What's up, y'all? Back with another video. Thank you for coming back through to my channel. My name is Joshua Tree for people who do not know me, right? And yeah, welcome back. So this particular video, before we begin, let me just go ahead and say, can you guys just tap that little button that says subscribe because I'm trying to get my channel up, right? Uh yeah, so let's get into this video because I got somewhere to be. So this video, you guys, I want to talk about the intellectual mind versus the personal mind and how to get into the childlike mind. So there's many different layers to consciousness, there's many different layers to awareness, right? And for the most part, a lot of us are in the more personal and intellectual mind. That's the kind of two minds that we drift in and out of. And so we want to move above that, go beyond that to get more of a childlike mind. So I'm going to kind of break down these three layers and knowing how to get more into the childlike mind can put you more in a state of ease, put you more in a state of relaxation, put you more in a state of surrender, put you more in a state of ridding a lot of your suffering. So we're just gonna get straight into it. Um, yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to say. So we're gonna get straight into it. So let's get into it. So right, we're talking about three layers of consciousness, three different layers of awareness, right? So the first awareness or first stage, let's just make it more simpler. The first mental stage that most people are dwelling in is the personal mind, right? So what is the personal mind? The personal mind is the mind that has all the needs, has all the wants, all the preferences. It deals with dislikes and likes. It is the survival mind. It's always looking for the next fix, right? Then we have the next layer, the next stage, the next mental mind is the intellectual mind. The intellectual mind is the mind that's used for, you can say, bits of creativity, is used for rationality, is used to reduce things, to deduct things, is used to be, it's very logical. It takes a logical analysis to something that is outside of it, you know? Um, this is the mind that a lot of us, of course, like I said, use as well. But like we just said, what I said earlier, we use both of these at the same time all day, right? Now, the mind that we want to kind of get into, the level of awareness that we want to kind of get into is the childlike mind. Now, what is the childlike mind? Now, some spiritual teachers and spiritual traditions and spiritual teachings speak about the childlike mind. The childlike mind is a state of awareness that is more detached from feeling the need to have something to feel complete. So the childlike mind is the completion, the knowingness of knowing that you are complete, that you're a whole, that you don't need anything. So a good example of what the childlike mind looks like is when you pay attention to children at a certain age, children don't really need toys in order to feel some type of fulfillment. If the parent can play with the child and give the child imagination, then the child would be satisfied. Or even outside of that, because that's it, that's still even that, that's one example. Because even being a parent is something outside of a child. The child itself doesn't need a reason to be joyous. The child itself doesn't need a reason to be happy. It just is. So when you look at a child, particular babies and toddlers, they have this laugh to them, this hysterically laughing for no apparent reason, or they're happy for no apparent reason. They're running around the yard or running around the room with no apparent reason, no logical reason for why they're happy. They just happy because that is our natural state of existence. That is what we are all going back to. So you got to start at the end to get back to the beginning. So we're going backwards in a sense in terms of cultivating this high level of awareness. A child is just pure awareness. A child doesn't have to think in order to be happy. It just is. right? And so you want to have a childlike mindset. And this also goes deeper into when we look at Maya, or this an illusion, or this physical reality, this third dimension, matrix, whatever you want to call it. We can look at it like a video game. We can look at it like a movie. You know, you want to have fun in this reality. You want to be here and enjoy the journey, right? And that comes with this childlike state. So this is the level that we want to inspire to get into, this level of consciousness. So let's get into it, right? That's the three layers, right? We got the personal mind, we have the intellectual mind, and we have the childlike mind. Of course, I got my handy dandy notebook right here, so that's what I'm looking at. So let's just start with the problem solve. I'm sorry. Let's start with the personal. Oh, let's just go into it because I kind of just broke it down to you guys. So understanding the personal mind, right? The personal mind is the, like I said, it's the lowest level. That's what most of us are residing at. This is the mind that is constantly seeking for some type of fulfillment outside of itself, right? And we have to understand this. This is something that a lot of people do not understand. You can never satisfy anything outside of yourself. Nothing outside of yourself will truly satisfy you. It will only give you temporary happiness. So you'll notice that in society, we actually chase circumstances. We chase a better way of existing or a better way of living because we do not like our current circumstances. So when it comes down to happiness, what are we really doing here? We're really chasing for a different type of fixation or infatuation, let's say rather, of something that we think is going to give us ultimate happiness, but it never does. When you get, I don't know, say you get a new pair of tennis shoes, right? It brings joy, it brings happiness. You're like, yeah, I got the brand new G Nikes, just came fresh out the shop. What you talking about? Man, I got them uptown. Yeah, like, yeah. When you get the brand new kicks, you rock them, and then there's some kid that comes up the street with some better looking G Nikes, or some better, for people who not from New Orleans, G Nikes means Air Force Ones. We call them G Nikes. When you get some brand new, when you see a kid walking up the street with some brand new G Nikes, you be like, ooh, I want them. So that happiness that you once had for your own pair of shoes goes away immediately, and now you're looking for your next fix. That is the constant state that we're in. We're constantly looking for the next fix. We're never truly satisfied. Even when you achieve a goal, you only really achieve the goal, which is an illusion. You achieve the goal for, say, 5 to 10 seconds, right? You feel some type of euphoria, you feel good about yourself, things of that nature, and then you go on to the next goal. Just constantly, 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 constantly doing that. That's the level of awareness that we're at. And so we have to rid this idea that we think that something outside of us is going to give us ultimate fulfillment. It can give us some states of this bliss that a child carries. It can give you that, but it's giving you a glimpse of what truly is inside of you. It's like giving you the appetizer when there's an entree that's way much more fulfilling, right? And so, like I said, this is the mindset that we normally carry. And so so keep that in mind. Now we shift it up to the intellectual mind. Now I want to use this quote from my famous, well, favorite teacher. Um, Shout out to Brother Panic. He said that um, as children, we knew everything and then we became smart. And I wanted to use that quote because this to me matches perfectly with this next explanation about the logical mind. So, the logical mind, like I said, or the intellectual mind, this stage of awareness deals with practical usage. It's necessary. We need something to, let's say, get through this existence. If you want to fix food, you use the intellectual mind. If you want to drive a car, you use the intellectual mind. Social actions, use the intellectual mind. It's needed. So I look at this mind as the problem solver mind. To break them down in simplest terms, it's a problem solver mind. It's a problem solver. I'm sorry, problem solver level of awareness. And so, with that being said, this is where we get fucked up at. Now, stay with me. We combined the personal mind, the mind that's always in a constant state of survival, the first stage, with the second mind, the intellectual mind, that's a problem solver, right? So what we do is, this is where the stress comes in at. This is where the anxiety comes in at. This is where the suffering comes in at. Because the intellectual mind is a practical mind. But what we have done is we use that practical mind towards basic survival and basic needs. Now, you do need to use that to some degree. Some degree. Look at my two fucking fingers. Some degree. We use it 100%. We overuse that layer or level of awareness. The intellectual mind or the problem solver mind is great for it is great for solving problems that are more like scientific based, more like mathematic based. So, for example, Thomas Edison trying to discover the light bulb. That's a lot of intellect that he's utilizing to try to understand how to create this light bulb. He goes through many experiments. He's trying to figure out from different arenas, different areas, different angles, different dimensions to try to understand how to create this light bulb. So, this particular part of awareness, which is the intellect that we're referring to, needs to expand, to further its experimentation with something that it's trying to figure out. This layer of expansion that I'm referring to, we put that into our basic survival needs. So, for instance, say your goal is to gain more money. If your goal is to gain more money, that is not a conundrum. If you get a bill that comes in your name to your house, it has a number that says this is how much you owe. If you have a job, then use the job, practical usage, use the job to pay the bill. Now, if you say, okay, well, I don't want to be in this the circumstance anymore, right? Circumstance. Remember, we talked about happiness and circumstances, circumstantial happiness, right? I don't want to be in this circumstance anymore. I want to change it. Okay, that's fine. Change it. That still requires practical usage. That still requires a little bit of rationality in it. So you think about another way to make more money. But what we do is, once we get so fixated on the fact that we have bills coming in and out, in and out, in and out, we get so bombarded and overload with the stress that comes with the entity called bills, that we put so much emphasis and so much energy into paying bills that it starts to expand this intellect that we have, which is really a false sense of expansion, because we know that the mind is limited. But for the sake of context, let's say that it does expand, right? And so now we're expanding this intellect that we are supposed to be or should be, or is more favorable to use it towards something like a scientific experiment. Instead of using it for that particular purpose, we use it for survival needs. Now, if you have something such as a bill that needs to be paid and it's not, let's say, you having struggles with paying the bill, it can start to create anxiety because you're overthinking about it. You're overthinking about how I'm gonna pay this bill, how I'm gonna pay this bill, how I'm gonna pay this bill, which kind of equates to limitation that the intellect provides. And the reason why is limited in that regard, because what you're trying to figure out doesn't need to expand no way further than what it has expanded. Meaning that if a bill comes in your name, it shows the amount that you need to be paid, that you need to pay, and so you pay it. There's no mystery behind that. If Thomas Edison was trying to discover the light bulb, there's a lot of mystery behind that, so he has to take countless experimentations to try to figure it out. So that's constant growth and understanding, and try to understand something that is considered to be somewhat of a conundrum. But when we have a bill in our name, we give it places, we put so much emphasis on it, and we think that the mind is going to give us a solution, which it can, but hear me out, gives a solution that we can always rely on when we have these particular experiences. So, in other words, we have used the mind, in a sense, to take care of all of our problems. When I just said that it's more favorable for like experimentation purposes, We have used the mind for all of our personal needs, experimentation purposes, every experience that we have, every interaction that we have, everything that comes to existence, it comes through the intellect. It comes through the ego, for another word, right? And we're using too much of it. We're using too much of this finite level of awareness, right? Some people say that the subconscious mind is 90% and the intellect is 10%. We ain't using 10%. We're trying to use 70, excuse me, we're trying to use 70%. Damn, that was a strong burp. We're trying to use 70% of the intellectual mind rather than using only 10. Think about that for a minute. I want you to think about that. Think about using 10% of your intellect. You would not be around this bitch like this. But we're trying to overuse it. We gave it so much of our power. We gave it too many responsibilities. That's why we're like this. It's overstimulated. It's over uh uh it's overused. We have abused the intellect. We have abused the intellect. That's what we've done. It's too much energy that we put into it, and we think that it is the all and be all. The new, let's say, religion and the God that's tied to it is our intellectual mind. The way that we worship our fucking thoughts, the way that we worship the intellect, you might as well say you are in a prison, you are in a form of religion in your own mental constitution. These two layers of awareness are constantly interplaying with each other. This is where we stop at. We don't go no further than this. This is where people who expand in their intellect, this is where they think that, of course, if they have used their intellect to create this reality for themselves, in which you can do that, right? So, successful entrepreneurs, business people, et cetera, they use the intellect because the intellect is designed for this physical existence. So, listen to what I'm saying. We use too much of it. I'm not saying to not use intellect. I'm saying we're using too much of it. And in return, we don't realize how much it's really limiting us. So then the question would be is, well, what can you counterbalance that out with? How do you create this balance in your mind so you don't have so much anxiety, so you don't have so much mental disorders or stress that's constantly going on in your life because you're so into the mind? We have become so fixated with the mind that we're so disconnected from the body and everything else. When you wake up, this is the first place that you go, listening to your thoughts. So we have over identified with our thoughts, and if you over identify with your thoughts, or if you think you are your thoughts, or if you think you are this mind, or whatever you want to call it, then that's where you fucked yourself. Because that is where, in a lot of spiritual teachings, they tell you that you're not the body, you're not the mind, you're not the emotions, you're not the thoughts. You are just pure awareness. And so let's go up another level, which is the layer or the level of a childlike mindset. The childlike mindset is the state of existence that just is. It's just allowing. It's just being. It's just flowing. So, what does a childlike mindset looks like when you apply it to a bill? When you apply it to something that's a need? First, you need to understand that you don't need anything. You, the individual, or let me say that, scratch that. You, the awareness, because that's what you are. Who and what you, well, can't even say that. What you are doesn't have a need. Only the personal mind or the ego has a need. You do not have a need. You are aware that you have a need, but you yourself, right, don't have a need. So we are pure awareness, bringing our awareness to things that we need. So once you know that, for instance, okay, prime example, right? I use this example all the time. I am aware of this version of myself that's speaking through this mic. I am aware that my name is Joshua Tree. That's what I called myself. I'm aware of what I've cultivated for myself. I'm aware of the attributes that I utilize to teach. I am aware of my mental construct or my mental level of awareness and what I've built for myself. I'm aware that I've, developed certain muscles in my body, and I'm aware of the energy that I cultivated for myself. I'm aware of these things, but I also know that I am none of these things. So when I have something such as a need that needs to be fulfilled, I know this need is it needs to be fulfilled for me to play out the rest of this video game, for me to play out the rest of this role that I'm playing. It is me having a one-on-one experience with this reality that we call life. But I know that it's coming from a place of this is what I have to do. So in other words, my need for this body is it has to eat. This body needs food, it needs water. I'm aware of that. And so what I do is, due to other studies, I put the right amount of food and the right amount of water in my body because my body needs it. So it's kind of like if you have to so imagine this is you, right? This is who you truly are, and this is who you're not. This is Joshua Tree. This is me, just pure awareness. I'm aware of Joshua Tree. Once you separate yourself, you can start to see that this is not who you are. So it's kind of like you're a parent who is parenting a child or parenting a certain entity that is not aware of itself. You are aware of this, which we call the body, the physical shell, or Joshua Tree. You are aware of this version of yourself. This version of yourself is not aware of this version of itself until you start to do some spiritual practices and you bring yourself aware to this version of yourself. And that's what you start to identify with. You start to identify with who you truly are or what you truly are, which is pure consciousness, which doesn't need anything. So you need to get into the state of awareness where you become the child that does not need a toy. It was a certain time in your life, let's say when you were a child, obviously, because I don't know no adults playing with toys unless it's sex toys, right? Um, at a point in time in your life when you were young, you didn't need a toy to be happy. When they put that toy in your hand, that toy became the house that you're trying to have for yourself. That toy became that car, that foreign that you're trying to have for yourself. That toy became them brand new shoes out the shoebox. That toy became that girl or that boyfriend that you want so desperately on Instagram, but they ain't showing you no love. That toy became that career that you saw that your other friend has, and so you're a little bit jealous, so you got to find something better than that. That toy became marriage that you've seen through Disney movies, and so you want to have that. That toy became intellect and knowledge because you saw other people becoming very wise and knowledgeable, so now you got to have wise and knowledge. The toy became something that we think we have to have or something that we think we have to become in order to be fulfilled. But you notice, for example, I used the toy of intellect and knowledge. You can fulfill yourself with stimulating. You can fulfill yourself with stimulating yourself by having knowledge and obtaining knowledge. But what's so interesting about that is that if someone is more knowledgeable than you, guess what? You suffer. And this is the point that I'm making. Anything that you think you have to become, or anything that you think you have to attain, when it is tampered or when it's messed with, you suffer from it. And if you're suffering from it, guess what? That's not who you are. You have identified with this aspect of yourself and has become a part of your identity. You have not identified with the true version of yourself, like we just explained earlier with the little hands. You haven't became pure awareness. Pure awareness is nothing. Your true essence of what you are pure nothingness. And in return, you are everything. So what they always tell you, go back to the nothingness, go back to the void, go back to the darkness, go back to divinity, go back to heaven, go back to oneness, go back to God, go back to self. Because we know all these particular type of names that they utilize is whole, it's holistic, it's complete. It's nothing that's wrong with these particular aspects. I'm sorry. That these I'm sorry. This level of awareness, I'm sorry, I don't want to say it wrong. This particular awareness doesn't need to be fixed, is what I'm trying to get at. It doesn't need uh, uh, um, it doesn't need nothing to fulfill it. A child with no toy is pure happiness. They're running around that joint. Ah! Nothing's making them do that. They're just pure blissful. So that's a state and a level of awareness that you want to get to. When you get to that state, but this is a heightened state because you also have to be detached. Everything that we have attached our identities to is what you're detaching from. And so you have to become high level awareness in terms of what is everything that you are attaching to and what is it doing for you. Another way to look at that is like, say, for instance, okay, I got on some fresh shoes right now because I'm about to go get something to eat. These shoes I bought maybe years ago. Now, I'm a shoe person. I love shoes. So an example of that would be is, and this is what we're talking about in terms of detachment. If someone step on these shoes and I get mad, I get angry, that means that I am attached to this material possession. I myself, pure awareness, can't be attached to an object because I am nothing. I am undetachable. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a word. I think it's a word. I think unattached. Yeah, I say that word wrong. Unattached. The energy that I reside in is unattached. It's not attached to anything. It just is. That's kind of what the concept when they say be in it but not of it. It's a dualistic perspective. You're in an ebb and flow state consistently in this existence. You're constantly in it and you're constantly out of it. Most people are all the way in it and they never out of it. So they live this reality and they suffer from it because they think that's who they are. They think they're their body. They think they're their thoughts. They think they're the physical pain, right? They think this is who they truly are. And so they suffer. But you have to get in this space of detachment. You have to get in this space of being in it, but also being out of it. We live in a world of dualism. That is for a reason. Because if we didn't have dualism, we would never understand what we truly are. Dualism helps us get back to who we truly are. Because it's the outside trying to get back inside. If that wasn't the case, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. I'll probably be in some other fucking world, some other dimension, and we would never have a human experience. Dualism is necessary for the human experience so you can have an understanding of who you truly are. Because if we wasn't separate, because dualism deals with separation, if we wasn't separate, then we would not be having this experience. That's the whole point of this game that we're playing. Ask yourself what game that you're playing. Are you playing the game of the American dream? I'm trying to get the car and the marriage and the career and the house. That's cool. Because the thing is, what I'm saying too is you can still achieve all those things, but also understand that those things should not waver you or put you in a mindset that you're better than anyone or make you think that you made it or just say to yourself, okay, once I've achieved all these things, I guess I could go ahead and die. You have not done no spiritual work. You're just a human. You just lived out your humanity. You have not dealt with your spirituality or, to say, dealing with the soul or trying to understand your true nature. So this ain't no monk talking to a monk. You know what I'm saying? We're not in the caves. We're in modern day society. In a modern day society, you still got to live out your life, but understand that you also are detaching from this life at the same goddamn time. Right? So let's kind of get to wrapping this up. So we want to get to the stage where we at the childlike mindset, right? And the childlike mindset is the mindset where, like I said, you are the child with no toy. You are the child that knows that you are fulfilled. There's nothing that can give you ultimate fulfillment. Peace, happiness, joy, bliss, everything that we are searching for through inanimate objects, right? From experiences, people, places, and things, everything that we think that we are, everything that we're seeking and we're thinking that is giving us these things I just previously stated, is giving us this temporary fulfillment. And that's why we always feel like we're not constantly being satisfied. The ego, which dwells in that personality component, dwells in that personal mindset, is never satisfied. You know, it was at one point in time I was going around asking entrepreneurs around my local community, how does it feel to be in a brick and mortar? They started from the ground up and they got a brick and mortar. And I asked them, like, so what's next? Like, so how you feeling? Like, you've made it. You have this brick and mortar. You're making thousands of dollars. How does it feel to get into that space? Everyone that I've talked to, they told me that, you know what, I think I'm a size down. I just can't do it. I ain't got no time. This is just too much. And it's just like now I'm like, okay, so what do I do next? Like, I don't know where to put my energy at. I feel like I'm giving all my energy to the people. I don't have no time for myself. You start to see that the grass ain't really that green. But then you start to see also is that the ego has convinced them that once they get this particular achievement, they will be satisfied. So most other entrepreneurs, what they'll do is, because I listen to like Social Proof and these other different type of business content channels. They say, oh, I hit a million, I hit a million, I hit 100 million. Okay, so then another entrepreneur comes in who has hit a billion. They say, oh, look, you hit 100 million. All right, great, go to 500 million. Yeah, you gotta go higher than that. You gotta keep going. You gotta keep excelling. Once you hit your first meal, you gotta go to 2 mil. And one of those guys I listened to on Social Proof, which I fuck with Social Proof, he said he was like, why is it that once we hit a mill, we got to keep going? Like, why is that? And so here's my response to that. You have to understand that the ego is never satisfied, it's never content. And that will show you who are operating more in the ego and versus more in the spiritual aspects of their ego, which I made a video called What is the Spiritual Ego? That's why I said it like that. I want you guys to check that out whenever you get a chance. But you can tell based off a person's level of um dissatisfaction how much they are into their egos. And don't get it twisted. I'm still over here getting certifications, and I'm still over here reading book after book, and I'm still doing things that I love to do or I feel is giving me more in the space that I need to be in. But best believe when I get into the space where I need to be in, it's not going to be constantly expanding into new cars and new houses. And it's not going to be all that, because if I can sustain myself and where I'm at, I'm going to be content. My expansion is going to go towards my spirituality. It's going to go towards helping more people. It's going to go towards, being more of a humanitarian. What that looks like. It's not going to be so much about me. Most people's endeavors or pursuits are all about them and their level of expansion. It's never so much for outside expansion in terms of helping people. And so that's where, like I said, you want to get to the point where you realize that you are the child with no toy. That is the ultimate goal. That is what some people would call enlightenment, right? Um, and so I think that is pretty much it, you guys. I think I'm about to wrap this up. So if you guys fuck with this video, by the way, let me know in the comment section because I'm trying to communicate with you guys. Hit me with a fire flame, fire flame. Hit the fire flame button emoji. Put that in the comment section. This particular topic, by the way, you guys, people who are fucking with my content, people who are looking to evolve and grow with me, this is my jam right now. So these teachings will keep expanding. So if you want to see more of these teachings, just let me know. But I am real heavy into understanding a lot about this ego that we call the ego, and understanding more about what we're really supposed to be doing in this existence. Um, as a side note, I am a person who's heavy into detachment. I'm a person who is heavy into letting things go. Also, a person who is not so much into the worldly things. So you're not going to hear a lot from that on this channel. Um, but you're gonna hear some shit. You know what I'm saying? So on that note, I think I'm about to go. I think I gotta go because I gotta go eat. So we're gonna wrap this up. And until next time, you know what I'm saying? Peace.